In a magical world, we have our protagonist Mash Bernadette who cannot even use any magic. He is going to a magic school where he keeps on beating one strong wizard after another just through the sheer power of his muscles. And I am here to review it all with you guys. Episode begins by reintroducing us to the Divine Visionaries, who are the foremost magic users in the world and the force that keeps it running. New Divine Visionaries are offered to join the Bureau of Magic, the supreme legal institution in this world. They handle the majority of tasks involving magic. They also serve another role as state-sanctioned forces protecting the society from those that would harm it. Then we see that Rain has taken care of the inmate who was left behind to keep him busy here to stop him from going ahead and helping Mash and his friends against a foe who is just as powerful as a Divine Visionary. Then we see a really weird new opening which I personally liked a lot for its goofy weirdness. Since Mash beat Abel, Adler received all the gold coins which Lang possessed. This had certainly brought Mash a lot closer to being a Divine Visionary. However, as a result of the battle against Cell War, rumors of Mash's inability to use magic was spreading throughout the academy. Mash is happy with the victory they pulled off against Divine Visionary level Wizard, and now he wants to celebrate. But his friend Finn is not very sure about the celebration just yet, because after that battle many students learned that Mash cannot use magic. Now they did shout him into submission by continuously claiming that Mash can use magic. But Finn is still worried that more trouble might be on its way. Then a student arrives there and tells them that he heard that Mash cannot use magic. But Mash denies his claim even though his brain seems like it's gonna explode. And the other student still does not believe Mash, and he also warns Finn that if he helps someone who cannot use magic then he himself will also be considered a criminal. Then Lance, Dot and Lemon also joins them. Dot seems to have taken some serious damage during his fights. Back in their dorm, a feast is prepared to celebrate their victory against Lang. Even their enemies, who were the ones they defeated, are invited for the feast. Of course, they are not here to celebrate their loss, but the fact that Abyss got better. Finn was getting really scared by all this scary atmosphere. Thankfully, Lemon is there to calm things down. But Abyss feels a little bit uncomfortable around her because he has very little experience with the ladies. Lemon wanted to feed Mash, but he has his own hands, so she decided to put the cream puff back but drops it. Now Mash can let anything slide, but he cannot let a cream puff get wasted, so he sucks it all in. So in a way I think this can be considered him getting fed by Lemon, even though Finn believes this to be the wrong way to do it. Finn asks Lance about what he was doing during the fight with Abel and Cell War. Lance explains that he was caught by some death row inmates, so he was busy fighting one of them. The fight did not finish because his opponent just ran away after some time. It was all chaotic, but still a fun party. As a thank you, Abyss tells Mash about how he is being targeted by Innocent Zero, which is the worst crime syndicate. They were looking for people with high magical power in this academy. Abel gained his power by helping them. Then we see Abel and Finn going through a dark corridor to get a board game which Abel forgot in his room. Then we also learn how Abel got his third magic line through artificial means as a reward for helping out Innocent Zero. Genuine triple liners are even more fearsome. Abel borrowed their power only to gain more coins. It seems whoever Innocent Zero is seeking has some kind of connection with Mash. This is why Abyss warns Mash to be on his guard, because they will surely return to punish them. Abel just wanted to create a world where kind people like his mother can also survive, but the way they took for it has gotten them into a big mess. But still, Abyss feels like that Mash can create a world where even kind people will be able to live in peace. Then we see one of the Mash hater students sneaking around trying to find proof of Mash not being able to use magic. But he gets a big shock after witnessing the second best student of Lang having a buddy chat with Mash. Now just imagine the shock when Lang's top dog Abel himself comes there and asks him why he is sneaking around this room. Without answering, he just quickly makes himself scarce. Then an owl delivers a letter to Mash which is sent by the Bureau of Magic. Next day, Mash is at the Bureau of Magic where an emergency inquiry is being conducted on him to find out if he is lying about being able to use magic. Those who cannot use magic are considered a bug in the perfect system of this world created by God. A Divine Visionary arrives there for him. It does not matter if Mash can use magic or not. He just puts a candle in front of him and asks Mash to light it up. He does not care if Mash uses magic or some other means. The only condition is that he cannot touch the candle. He wants to see if Mash can show a miracle greater than magic and prove that he is manly. Mash stands up because he is ready to take even this challenge. He takes out his magic wand, starts rubbing it at tremendous speed against the ground. This creates so much fire with friction that the candle gets lit. Now as the Divine Visionary explained, Mash decides to sway the majority in his favor by using his fists. Other Divine Visionaries also arrive there who think that punishing someone for being magicless is foolishness. But since regulations exist to maintain order, they will have to do it. Mash was hoping that he had proved enough and now he could go back to the academy, but then more Divine Visionaries arrive there who are sent by Walbert. One of them even wants Mash to be put to death for hiding his identity as a lack magic. While most of the Divine Visionaries are agreeing with that punishment for Mash, Innocent Zero also makes their entrance and claim that Mash belongs to them, so they do not want him harmed. To show that they are serious, they even put a Magiparasite there, a specific dangerous magical creature that feeds off mana and uses humans as a host for its larvae. It reacts to those who try to peel it off from the host, using them as the next host. This is their declaration of war against the Bureau of Magic. The Divine Visionary who put Mash through the candle test volunteers for being the one to remove the Magiparasite, even though it will then stick to him. But before he could go ahead and do it, Mash just casually takes the parasite out. Now what will the parasite suck when there is no magic in Mash? Even then, the parasite does try to use Mash as its host, but it just does not end very well for it. Mash tied it up in his mouth like a cherry stem. He realized he couldn't kill it in his mouth, so he tied it together to immobilize it instead. Then he gently puts the man aside who looks like he's ascended to heaven already. So basically Mash defeated the enemy messenger, due to which the old man has been spared. But even now this Divine Visionary is adamant about the death punishment for Mash. But Mash continues to say that he will not go for that punishment. So the Divine Visionary uses his sand magic to implement the punishment right now. But he gets stopped by the other Divine Visionary who supports Mash. The argument keeps on getting more and more heated. Then a familiar sword also pops up there. Now Rain is here and he's not alone because he has brought the Headmaster Dumbledore with him. The episode ends here and I will give it a great rating of 3 out of 4 stars. The Sand Dude asks the Headmaster why he called all of them here, while also showing his desire to take Mash out due to him being a lack magic. The Headmaster asks him to defer the punishment because Mash could give them lead about Innocent Zero. Here it is also revealed that the Headmaster himself was a Divine Visionary, a living legend, the only one to go toe-to-toe against Innocent Zero in his youth. The Sand Dude understands the Headmaster's position but still declines to defer the punishment, because according to law the lack magic should be purged. And even after Headmaster and Rain bow their head down to allow Mash live, the others still wish to just follow the rules and get this over with. But then the judge who was supposed to sentence Mash also wants the punishment to be deferred as Mash just saved his life. He himself is ready to face any punishment for suggesting this, but he does not plan to change his verdict and decides to defer the punishment. The Sand Dude allows this on the condition that Mash prove his capability of being able to fight against Innocent Zero by becoming this year's Divine Visionary candidate. But Mash decides to not just end things after becoming Divine Visionary candidate, as he vows to even beat Innocent Zero up with his fists. Back in the school, Mash also tells his friend about what happened during his verdict. Lance just now learns that Mash cannot use magic. All the friends decide to have fun, but all of them do not have much experience with fun, so even here they are just busy doing their regular shenanigans. Then Dot tells them about a game which can only be played here. But the game of tickling does not go very well, as instead of focusing on target, Mash and Dot start targeting each other. Lance is looking for another one to prepare for the Divine Visionary exam, which will be held earlier this year due to the Innocent Zero trouble. Even though Mash cannot use magic, Lance still will go all out against him for the sake of his sister during the exam. In the wand shop they see so much amazing wands that even Finn starts thinking about buying a new one. The shopkeeper wonders if Mash will also choose a wand. Finn is worried because without magical power no wand will react to Mash. But then Mash sees a wand lying in the ground, which the shopkeeper says that it's so heavy that nobody can ever lift it. It's said that elf water springs up from beneath it, and magnificent wands can be crafted using that water. But the shopkeeper also believes it to be no more than a legend. No amount of muscle or magic has been able to lift it for the past millennium. Not even before the shopkeeper could stop talking, Mash just casually pulls up the wand and says that he is gonna be using this one. In the end, Lance didn't buy a wand. Then Lemon and the bamboo guy also joins them. Mash enjoys a lot of cream puffs with his friends. Mash had a lot of fun. He had never before gone out with his friends to have fun. But now he wants to do this again sometime later. After several days have passed, Mash is counting his gold coins, which number 7. So far all their preparation for the exam is going well. But Mash wants to visit home before the exam begins. In a dark room, the Sand Dude is not happy with the headmaster's decision. So he asks his underling Orca dorm prefect, Margaret Macaron, to make sure that Mash does not participate in the Divine Visionary candidate exam. But his underling will not just do any job, as he wants a job which will stimulate. The sand dude assures him that he will get plenty of that because the guy he is dealing with right now has even beaten Lang's prefect Abel. But even this is not enough for the underling to be excited. But the moment sand dude says that Mash did all that without using magic, a shock occurs, after which the sand dude asks his underling to go wild as he will himself handle the cleanup. After this, the underling starts playing an ominous music on the piano. After playing for a bit, the underling declares that the spring has arrived. The other underlings find all of this very creepy. Back at home, the father is very happy to see Mash visit him. His friends are also here with him. The father is very happy to see that Mash has made so many great friends. Dot even brought some herbal tea as a gift. Then Lance also gives a gift which consists of his sister's merchandise. Seeing Mash enjoy the school life with his friends, his father just wants all of this to stay as is forever. Finn also believes that. But then we see the sand dude's underling coming straight towards Mash and his father's home to ruin their such great reunion. The underling was very excited, but suddenly he has to stop due to a lot of swords raining down on him. A battle between a divine visionary and Orca's prefect is about to take place while Mash is completely oblivious of it, playing board game with his friends. A few years ago, a tournament was held for 13 minus 15-year-olds in the middle school division. One magic user single-handedly overpowered all the other competitors. They had only been 9 at the time. Their name was Margaret Macaron, the future prefect of Orca Dorm. And right now they will also face Rain the Divine Visionary. For now there is no battle as Margaret Macaron starts playing on his piano. The music stops, but Rain is still confused about what the hell is even happening here. Then Margaret goes on to totally disrespect Rain by saying that Divine Visionary is just a title which he was never too much interested in gaining. The only thing that he wanted was strength, which he has plenty of right now. But to find out which of them is the stronger one, they begin their battle where Rain fights with his magic sword missiles and Margaret fights with his music missiles. While back at home, Mash and his friends are enjoying a fun little board game, in which poor Dot loses all his money. Lemon gets restrained. Lance's sister brings home boyfriend. It's almost like the game is predicting their future. Then the worst fate comes for Mash, as even in the game it is discovered that he cannot use magic, for which he gets executed, after which the game is over. Then just like how Mash's father wanted, Finn also wants their friendship to keep on going like this forever. Unaware of the battle between Rain and Margaret, which keeps on getting more and more intense. Margaret's howling sound is proving to be quite effective against Rain. Now Rain is stuck in between a minefield of sound bombs which can explode if Rain tries to do any kind of attack. Then Margaret explains the philosophy of why humans pursue stimulation like art, love, sports, and other stuff, even though none of these things are necessary to live a normal life. According to him, they do it because boredom is as good as death. And Rain cannot provide Margaret with the stimulation he needs to not feel bored, so for now he just wants to go and meet Mash. But Rain wants Mash to become Divine Visionary even without magic and change the perception of the whole world. Back in his office, even the headmaster has full trust in Rain's ability to face Margaret, because Rain is the youngest one to receive triple lions, signifying his absolute strength in terms of magic. Back at home, Mash keeps on getting executed for not being able to use magic even in the board game, so he just goes out into the forest to eat his special cream puff in peace. But while in the forest, Mash spots Rain fighting Margaret. Mash hears all the praise Rain is showering him with while also trying to protect him from Margaret. Margaret does not appreciate Rain standing in his way, so he decides to attack him with full-on musical orchestra, to force him to cast a spell which will activate the music mind bombs. But triple liners are not a joke, because not only are they chosen by God to have inherent talent, but they can also awaken a wand's dormant true form. And when Rain brings out the true form of his own wand, the mind bombs just become useless against his mighty strength, and the battle intensifies even more. Maybe the game is over for now, because Margaret probably will not be coming back after this one. So Mash comes out and thanks Rain, but Rain does not require thanks because all he was doing right now was just playing with some rabbit. Then even though Rain is bad at encouraging people, he still tries his best to encourage Mash on his courageous challenge, in which nothing good will come out if Mash fails. So he wants Mash to win. Then we see Margaret, who is not that much hurt, but his buddies certainly are not looking very okay, and he could have tried to fight Rain with his second magic, but for now he chose to just save his minions. For now he just decides to save the best for last. Mash shares his gold coins with his friends. While back home, Mash's father blames himself for the current predicament in which Mash is stuck right now. But Mash does not want his father to worry about him because he is happy right now no matter what happens. Because he gets to eat a lot of cream puffs and now he even has a lot of friends in addition to a loving father who cares about him so much. The path to Divine Visionary is broadly divided into 3 stages. The first is coin acquisition. The second is the Divine Visionary Candidate Exam. The third is the Divine Visionary Elect Final Exam. One must acquire 5 or more gold coins to advance to the second stage. However, due to Innocent Zero's intervention, the exam has been pushed forward. Only 3 gold coins are needed to qualify. Even Margaret is taking the exam this year, increasing the difficulty for Mash even more. The Sand Dude also once again comes to meet Mash and tell him about how he will never acknowledge him. But it's alright because even if this guy will not cheer Mash his muscles, Kevin, Tom, Mike, Kim, Yamada, Koji, Satomi and Yukari are all there to cheer him up to do his best in the exam. The crowd is already talking about the rumor that Mash cannot use magic. So they are just confused about how this guy even made it here as they all shout for Mash to just go home, and to be frank, Mash would definitely want that, but it's not like he have any choice. To pass the test they will have to survive against these monsters and find a key to unlock the door. On huge mirror screens, audience can see what the participants of the exam are doing as they roam around in a really grim looking environment. Poor Finn just wants to go home. He just wants to keep sleeping in his bed. One of the other participants quickly finds out that he cannot even use magic against those monsters, and just one touch of their axe will make them feel excruciating pain, after which they will transfer it outside the stage. And just like that, one of the candidates gets disqualified. This exam questions how well they can do in a situation where they will be forced to flee. How tasteless. I knew this school was messed up. Everyone expects the candidates to be running around the stage. But there is one candidate who does not care if these monsters are immune to magic because he has got some seriously powerful muscles to beat them with. I guess we can say that the real monster is Mash, with whom the others are stuck in here. But then again, a Detervent is a phantom. They are not living creatures. Any damage they take heals instantly, so even Mash will have to be at least a little bit careful. Which is why instead of wasting time with them, Mash also just runs around to find the key. But then suddenly someone casts a spell on him which makes him very small. But being small is not all bad because now the monsters cannot see him easily. The guy who shrank down Mash seems like a good dude as he tells Mash how Detervents have bad eyesight. But they are really sensitive to sound. After the monster goes away, he even makes Mash his normal size again. Mash also thanks him for helping even though it's an exam. Then they talk about how the key should be somewhere in the Detervent's patrol radius. So they decide to follow the monsters while we get to see Finn cowering in fear. Even Dot is trying his best to stay as far away from those monsters as possible. So far not making much sound is working pretty well for Mash and his newfound friend. They even found the key, which is in the center of the area a Detervent moves around in. But to get the key out, Mash goes ahead to burst it, but it sounds an alarm. And now they will have to run again. They try again and again, but no matter what they do, the alarm rings and the monster changes them again. So then finally the friend decides to make the balloon bigger with his magic, while Mash does break dance to put air in it, which bursts the balloon. And now the key comes out. But this is just the first key. One of the other keys is in the hand of Lance. Dot also gets one key, and so does Margaret and the other candidates. But poor Finn has still not got his key, so Dot decides to help him out. Mash decides to give his key back to the friend because without him he would not have gotten this. But seeing how good Mash is, the other guy just allows Mash to keep the key while also showing him the way out. His friend wants to help people like Mash, and for this Mash is also very thankful. After Mash leaves, his friend is attacked by another one of the candidates from Orca. After getting out, Mash meets Finn, Dot and Lance. Only 9 people can advance to the next stage. The last one to pass is Orca Dorm's Carpaxio Luoyang, who has hurt the friend of Mash pretty badly, and even after that he still disrespects him in front of Mash, calling him a useless weakling. Seeing all this, Mash comes to him and asks him to stop because otherwise he will have to punch him. Carpaxio also decides to disrespect Mash by pouring drink on him, but Mash just takes the drink, shakes it up really well, and drinks it all. Because it's 3 o'clock, which is when he likes to take his homemade special muscle drink. It's a protein shake with powdered beans, which makes it easier to absorb protein. A schedule for protein consumption is very important. Mash also notices how he keeps calling others weak even though he has yet to meet anyone stronger than him. This definitely enrages the guy a lot. But whatever clash they need to have will have to wait for now as the next exam begins. The next exam is called the Life Crystal. This will be a team battle. Each team has 3 members. With 9 candidates, we will have 3 teams. After the teams are set, the 3 members will get 1 crystal each, and they will go break the crystals of opposing teams. A team is disqualified when all their crystals are broken. I did understood what the rules are, but they are still too complex for Mash to understand. However, there is one little problem because Lance is in another team. Then all the teams receive the crystals which they need to protect. These crystals determine the exam results, and therefore their fate. Finn was hoping that even if his crystal breaks, the other team members are strong enough to protect their, but then we see Mash break his crystal even before the exam starts. But it's alright because they still Dot's crystal, until we find out that even Dot's crystal has been broken. Now their team have just 1 crystal left. This means that it's all over if Finn's crystal breaks. Both Mash and Dot assure Finn that they will make sure to protect his crystal through all of this. Then the candidates are shifted to the next stage where the exam begins. All the team members are scattered across the stage, and our poor Finn is once again alone with no one nearby to protect him. Next episode begins with telling us about 13 ancient wands which are said to exist in the magic realm. The wands choose only those with innate talents and bestow blessings upon their wielders. These wands are called the Master Canes. Then we come back to the qualifying round for the Divine Visionary Candidate exam, the Life Crystal, where Finn is not happy about being forced to split apart in a team match. Mash and Dot don't have their crystals anymore. Finn has the last crystal their team has left, so he will have to guard it with his life. Then Finn, while hiding, witnesses Carpaxio telling on of his rival contestant about how their birth decides who can climb to the peak and talent is not distributed evenly. That's why they need to live the life they were made for. He's worse than bad news right now for Finn. He will have to lay low here, so he decides to become one with the wall. And just when he thought that the enemy is gone and he had successfully become a wall, Carpaxio turns out to be right behind him. He finds Finn to be quite funny. Finn is even ready to lick shoes, and even lick between toes if someone can help him. Carpaxio remembers him as Finn Ames, the continuing student who barely made the cutoff. Poor Finn has become famous in the worst way possible. Carpaxio was wondering how someone like Finn is at Easton. He thinks maybe his brother helped him, but even then he feels nothing but dissatisfaction when he sees talentless trash like Finn. Now he wants Finn to give his crystal to him, as according to him it's not suitable for the likes of Finn. Carpaxio is very scary and this is totally intimidating. But since this crystal holds Mash's future, Finn decides to protect it with his life. But Carpaxio did not like how a weakling like Finn is acting like a big shot. He just wants Finn to be submissive and hand the crystal over, as it's better to not feel any pain. But it does not look like Finn is about to give the crystal willingly. Then we see Mash running really fast. Then we see Margaret talking about how Carpaxio is a prodigy, chosen by a one fit to be a national treasure. It's not an exaggeration to say he's the most talented in their academy. Then he shows his gratitude to all living creatures while also thanking his daddy and mommy for bringing him into this world. Back to Finn, we see him distract Carpaxio and run. Carpaxio does not worry as he can easily catch up, but right before he can do that, Finn activates his magic, teleporting Carpaxio to another location entirely. But Finn soon realizes that something is wrong with his leg and he falls down while hearing footsteps of Carpaxio heading straight towards him. Things are getting really painful for Finn. Even the students watching the exam think that Carpaxio is going too far. But Finn still says that he will not give this crystal to Carpaxio. Even if he is a loser, even if he is a coward, he still can't do something as pathetic as abandoning his friend. Finn even tries using some offensive magic, but it's all useless against Carpaxio. Incompetent people who make an effort irritate him the most. So Carpaxio decides to show Finn that all his efforts are in vain as he brings the knife close to a really vital spot. But before Carpaxio can do anything, Mash smacks his head straight into the nearby wall. Even I will have to say that this is a really satisfying moment. Mash also tells Carpaxio that Finn's effort was not all in vain, because now he is here. Mash also thanks Finn for doing all that for his sake. Then Carpaxio comes right back into the fight while revealing that he is incapable of feeling pain because his wand is special. Mash's attacks are reflecting back at him, because Carpaxio's magic transfers damage he takes back to his opponent. On the other hand, all pain he suffers is absorbed by his wand. He does not even need to control it. The inability to be hurt is the blessing of the Master Cane, the most ancient of wands. This power was automatically activated the moment it chose Carpaxio. Thus, from the moment he was born, he has never felt any pain. He would like to feel pain, but according to him, someone like Mash does not have the caliber required to be able to deal pain to him. Every attack that Mash is doing comes right back at him without doing any damage to Carpaxio. This does not even look like a fight, it's like a farce. After Carpaxio further disrespects Finn, Mash just decides to do consecutive attacks so the healing speed can't keep up. Carpaxio thought this would not work, but then the statue behind him starts showing cracks. Then happens something which has never happened before. This is the first time someone cracked the goddess statue, but the goddess statue triggers automatically. It simply becomes more defensive the more attacks he withstands. Then it starts raining injections. Ooh, scary. But Mash manages to dodge them all. Then Mash takes out an iron wand and starts sculpting the iron wand with the strength of his fingers to turn it into a tennis racket. Then he serves an attack straight to the statue, which then starts raining injections again. But Mash keeps playing tennis while also dodging the incoming syringe rain. Mash is focusing his attack at that one crack in the goddess statue which has become its weak point. Mash keeps going until the statue is completely obliterated. Carpaxio is unable to believe what is happening right now. But since he wanted to know badly how pain feels, Mash decides to teach it to him. But maybe that was a bit excessive, but still well deserved. Everybody who is watching is amazed to see Carpaxio, a savant chosen by a Master Cane, get defeated by something similar to wall-hitting tennis. Carpaxio is feeling all the pain he wanted, and it is spreading with each heartbeat. After feeling himself how pain is something this horrifying, Carpaxio now has a newfound respect for Finn's courage against him who withstood so much pain for someone else. Now Carpaxio finally realizes how much outmatched he really was. After the merciless performance of Mash against Carpaxio, the life crystal round still continues, and even though one really powerful guy is out for the count, there still remains Margaret, who was sent by that sand divine visionary to eliminate Mash. These two guys have come face to face with Margaret, and they will soon find out how there was never a chance for weaklings like them to pass. They themselves realize that Margaret is too much for them to handle, but the situation has come where they don't have much choice. Then Margaret tells them that he hears a re, and how power and pitch fuse together in his head. In his scale, these two are at the second tier from the bottom, so the likes of them will never show Margaret the coming of spring. So he just asks them to quickly put their crystals down and be gone from here. Such a nice guy, allowing them to get out of there without any harm. Hopefully they will take it and leave. But these guys are not taking the hint. They think that it's a 2-on-1, so they have a chance to win. So they foolishly put their wands forward to do some magic shenanigans. After their magic, really scary looking wolf gets summoned. They are fully aware that Macron is as powerful as a divine visionary, but both of them have gathered 3 gold coins each to be here, so they consider themselves to be in the top tier too, and they have confidence that at least in a 2-on-1 situation they won't lose. Margaret realizes that these guys are not gonna listen to him, so he just goes ahead and does his sound magic, a drop of golden sun. Musical waves go ahead and take the scary looking wolf out in an instant, surprising both of those stupid idiots who thought they were in the top tier. Margaret's magic is still coming for them, so they create a shield hoping that it would protect them. But Margaret's magic seems to be way too powerful for the shield to hold. So even while being in a 2-on-1, they get taken out by a basic spell. And now their crystals are out and their body won't move. If only they would have taken the hint, at least they could have moved around without much trouble. Margaret also hopes that the difference between him and them is very clear to them. After this, an announcement happens that since one team dropped out, the exam is over. Poor Dot got to do nothing. But maybe it is a good thing, because the last thing he would want is to face someone like Carpaxio or Margaret. As the candidates come out, the audience is cheering a lot. Dot is happy that even after the crystal breaking setback they got through, and now they get to move on to the next part of the exam. He even did a quick little interview for the MVP Mash Bernadette. But Mash just wants to eat a cream puff. He does not want to answer questions. After the quick little interview, everything gets suddenly very quiet. The headmaster says that the greatest trial for Mash is about to begin. Even the audience is anticipating the candidates to get really serious. The only one who gave Raynames a run for his money last year was Margaret Macron, whose true strength is really great according to them. Margaret himself is standing right behind Mash, anticipating the ripening summer to arrive. But then when Mash turns around, he also turns around and starts leaving. While leaving, he tells Mash that he is looking forward to the next exam. Right after that, Mash also feels a kind of sting within him, as Mike tells him to be careful. For those who don't know, Mike is the name of one of his pecs. Mash has a really close relationship with all his muscles. Someone comes near Headmaster and says that facing someone like Macron makes it difficult for Mushroom Head to move on. He further says that the reason why Raynames was able to become Divine Visionary as a second year was largely due to the fact that Macron didn't even participate in the exam. As the head of Magic Talent Administration, this guy carefully examines every candidate each year, and in his opinion, the surest candidate for Divine Visionary is none other than Margaret Macron himself. he witnessed in person when Macron devastated a tournament a few years ago. Especially his second is really powerful. Even the headmaster agrees with his assessment. But I still wonder how this guy never saw or even heard about anything crazy that Mash has been doing since he arrived here. Maybe this guy is not that much of a good examiner as much as he likes to think of himself as. In fact, he even doubts that Mushroom Head has any aptitude for being a divine visionary standing against Margaret. He just thinks that the difference between them is way too overwhelming. One of the disqualified candidate is really frustrated with Mash and wants to make sure that he goes down. So he tells Macaron that Mushroom Head cannot use magic, as if Macaron is so stupid that he won't know this on his own. He also requests Macron to beat Mash up on behalf of all the magic users. He even offers to slip in a laxative or something in his food. But Macron just flicks him away, after which he warns that he should not do anything to dampen his fun, or he will take him down and send to another world. And this warning is not only for that stupid idiot but also for the Sand Divine Visionary who asked him to eliminate Mash. He will eliminate Mash, but not without having as much fun as he can in the process. The Sand guy also says that he will stay quiet as long as Margaret gets the job done. Seeing Margaret holding his own against even a Divine Visionary, the idiot guy feels the intense pressure of Macron's aura. Then in a dark room with spotlight on him, Mash tells about how he began to do all these intense crazy exercises. It all began when Pops told him to. At first it felt heavy and was so tiring that he really hated it. But as he begrudgingly kept doing it, he could hold more and more weight. Nowadays he can hold his head up high and say it. The reason why he pumps iron is because there's a dumbbell there, I guess that's it. Then he goes on further and tells us that the reason the humans have arms is so that they can hold dumbbells. Then he tells that the reason the humans have legs is so that we can deadlift barbells. Finn then notices that no one asked anything of Mash, but he still started talking on his own. Then Mash was about to tell us why humans have head, but sadly we did not get to hear that. Now I am really curious what he would have said. Instead of that, we get to hear Lemon tell about her feelings next, about why she continues to be an emotional burden. She says that first she wasn't an emotional burden at all, but gradually she started swaying between joy and sorrow with each of his moves. So if there's a reason why she continues to be an emotional burden, then it would be because the one whom she loves is right there. I guess that's it. Poor Finn is still confused with all this useless flow of time. Lemon continues to tell how the emotional burden comes from love. But thankfully we did not get to hear it too much, but what comes next is also pretty weird. Next is Dot dancing with Lemon, telling her how he's not good enough to be her partner. Lemon herself sings and agrees with him. Poor Finn now just wants to go home, just like me and animators of Mappa production. Then an alarm rings, which means that it is late enough to be that time when Mash needs to have his protein drink. Everyone is in their own world. For Mash, it is really important that he provides ample nutrition to his muscles because it is great training in itself. Then that examiner guy comes there and says it is all very impressive, but I think he meant it as sarcasm. He tells them of how a noble undertaking it is and he would also like to follow suit. Finn wonders how did he get here, while Mash realizes that this is one of those divine visionaries who bullied him the other day. Now Finn wonders what a divine visionary is doing here, but the divine visionary says that he just wants to play a little game, since they've got time before the next round starts. Mash declines because he does not want to play any game. All he wants to do is just get some rest. Seeing how Mash just sassed even a divine visionary, Dot praises Mash by telling him that he is really gonna go far. Then the divine visionary further explains how he is the head of Magic Talent Administration. Anyone joining the Bureau of Magic always gets adjudicated by him. So unless he acknowledges him, Mash might not be able to become a divine visionary. After hearing all this, Mash just agrees to play his little game. I also wonder why doesn't he go and bother Margaret, why he has to bother and waste time of Mash. He says that if Mash can beat him, then he will grant him a pass on this exam, no questions will be asked. Then he explains that the game they will play will be very simple, you look you lose. Mash just could not ask for more, so he just accepts his challenge. His fingers are moving so quickly it looks like a flower. By the way, this divine visionary's name is Caldo. After drawing a circle around where Mash was standing, Caldo explains that this will be a little bit of a variation of the game. There will be no rock, paper, scissors. Furthermore, he will point his finger first. After he counts down from 3, Mash will win if he stayed in that circle, without facing the way Caldo is pointing. But there is something of a confusion in Finn's head, especially because these rules would give Mash an overwhelming advantage. So what's the catch? Mash just wants him to bring it on, as he says he is ready. There will be 3 rounds, and if Mash dodges in all 3 rounds, he will win. First round begins where Caldo points up, so Mash looks down. But as the countdown begins, the ground begins to glow where Mash was looking. Just as the countdown was going on, a magic attack comes from the ground straight for Mage. Clearly Caldo is using magic to force Mage to look up. Just as the countdown hits 0, Mage barely dodges. It was certainly a close one. Even Caldo praises Mage for his nice move. In the next round, Caldo points in 2 directions, and just like in the previous round, another magic attack comes towards Mage, and this time it is coming from both directions. There is no way he will be able to dodge without looking at least in one of the directions, so Mage just attacks the magic and changes its flow. Caldo is certainly impressed after seeing how Mage can just manage stuff like this with his bare hands. Then Caldo brings out his sword from which black flames are emanating. The black flame enchanting this sword keeps burning whatever it touches until it burns out, so it's basically like Amaterasu. So this makes it impossible to take the hit like he did earlier. Even for Mage this is scary. Finn says that this is too dangerous and asks Mage to just stop. And even Mage wants to stop. But Caldo does not stop and says that this is the last one. This time he points in 3 directions and sends the sword forward. Mage will lose unless he looks down. And with his sword he goes ahead for the attack. Mage is trying to do his best while avoiding the sword, but as the countdown continues, these attacks are becoming more and more difficult to dodge for Mage. Right when the countdown was about to reach 0, Mage is in a position where he just can't look down because the sword attack is coming from that direction. So while looking down, Mage just puts his foot down really hard on the ground, breaking it in the cracks caused by Caldo's magic attack on the ground earlier. This allowed him to jump and dodge while looking down at the same time. What an amazing genius of martial arts this guy is, I will have to give credit. But just when Mage was in a position where he could celebrate a victory, an owl comes flying towards him, steals his cream puff and flies away, which causes him to look at the owl, which is the wrong direction, so sadly he loses. After this, Caldo puts his sword away and says that he won't count that one, so it's alright, Mage did not lose, yay. No need to celebrate because he just calls it a draw. So sad. But he does say that at his current level it might be very difficult for Mage to go up against Macaron before leaving. After he leaves, Dot tells how the events which happened there caused a chill down his spine. Then Mage says that he would have been in danger if Caldo didn't hesitate for a moment, and also he didn't cast any really dangerous spells, so maybe he is not that much of a bad guy. Then after a short break, the time has finally come to begin the final exam. The final exam is a one-on-one battle. The rules are simple. You win if your opponent gives up or passes out. Soon they start the first matchup. At one side is Mage Bernadette, Adler Dorm first year, with 7 gold coins, the most out of any candidate. Opposing him is Orca Dorm, who acquired 5 coins. Margaret Macaron. Even in Easton's storied history, Margaret Macaron's talents are a rarity. So according to the headmaster, this is the greatest crisis for Mage Bernadette. Macaron is terribly sorry because according to him now Mage will not be able to go any further. All he expects of Mage is to fulfill his destiny of amusing him. For Mage this is quite absurd. Then just when the announcer was about to start the match, Mage stops her because he wants to eat his cream puff first, so that he can replenish his calories before the workout. It is quite a coincidence because Macaron also wants to do the same and joins Mage in it. He does a lot of dip. Mage advises him that if he puts that much tartare sauce on it, he won't know what the fried shrimp, but Macaron doesn't understand what Mage means, because he's putting fried shrimp on his tartare sauce. For him, fried shrimp exists to eat tartare sauce in a more tasty way. This is something Mage does not get, but he does see the eyes of a madman in him. He senses a formidable opponent. Even Dot thinks that he's totally wicked based on his completely biased reasoning, of course. The crazier someone is, the more powerful they are. That means this is a real badass. According to Caldo, the reason why Order chose Macaron is because of the certainty. He didn't do anything between the first attack and this tournament because he has faith in Macaron's abilities, which means he believes that Macaron surely is able to finish Mage Bernadette. That's how obvious the difference in skill between them is. Margaret begins the battle by showcasing his intense aura, which is going quite a distance. Mage prepares his fists in anticipation. Even the audience is amazed at the magical power which Margaret is showcasing. There is so much magical power that Finn even has started to feel a little bit ill. This is the power said to be equal to divine visionaries. Lance also wants to see how will Mage overcome this. Mage begins by running straight towards where Margaret is standing. Then Margaret attacks with the basic magic spell to counter, which takes the volleyball position. But when Mage was trying to send it away, its weight was like a bowling ball. Mage was unable to return the serve and hits a wall behind him. Margaret hopes that this was not the end because after all this was just his basic spell. And just as the dust was settling, Mage quickly shows himself. Then takes Margaret up in the air with him. He gets him really high in the sky for his spine magic called Hellfall. Now we know Mash is not gonna be so easy to deal with, just as Margaret himself is not gonna be very easy. Dot is now wondering how did Mash escape that attack earlier because he thought that Mash hit the wall. Finn was able to understand what was happening and he tells others that Mash was just running backwards. After Mash decided that he couldn't return the magic serve, he started running backwards faster than the spell to escape before he slammed against the wall. As the dust settles, we see Margaret there with his hand in the superhero pose. He certainly looks unhurt and tells everyone that it is just the beginning. He is far from having enough enjoyment. They are again prepared to fight even more just as the episode ends. Next episode begins in the dark sky with lightning happening all around. Then we see a few dragons flying around. One of the guys who is riding the dragon says sorry for keeping his dear Mash Bernadette waiting. We cannot see the face of whoever this guy is, but he is feeling very splendid as it is like he is going on a field trip. A very strange atmosphere and time for talking about going on a field trip, I would say. Back at the exam, Caldo explains how just before slamming into the ground, Macaron created a sound cushion. The audience is also surprised because they never saw somebody use spine magic before, so Mash is showing something really unique to them. Many are surprised at the fact that he was able to use magic because they thought he is a lack magic. Caldo is not easily fooled. In fact, he is waiting for someone to call out Mushroom Head for naming a throw like it's a magic spell, or something which is clearly is not. Macron wants to enjoy this a lot more and again starts using Nalcos to attack Mash, who is able to easily dodge them. Mash has to run around the whole arena as Macron is attacking him non-stop. Soon Mash manages to get behind Macron. But Macron is no fool because he also realizes this and quickly starts turning back. Right now they're both at a point-blank range to hit an attack. But at this point-blank range they both suddenly come to a stop. Everybody who is watching is unable to understand what's going on. Why did they stop? Macron says that it's obvious Mash is attempting to guard something. Mash reveals what he was guarding, and it is a cream puff. What else can we expect from him? Macron further explains that if Mash has something to guard, then they both cannot fight at their utmost, so he asks him to set it aside. Then a girl comes with a plate to take the cream puff off from Mash as respectfully as possible because Mash can take anything, but not someone disrespecting a cream puff. Mash is quite surprised to see how Macron is showing a bit of chivalry here. But Macron makes it clear that Mash should not misunderstand him, as this is all for his own enjoyment, and nothing grand like chivalry. But still the audience cheers really loudly because they are all getting excited, especially with the candidates being so respectful to each other. This is truly a back and forth match. The entire venue is on edge. But for a Finn, all of this is just some sort of useless exchange. Dot thinks it's all so freaky he wants those wasted seconds back. Lance understands that neither of them have gone all out yet, they're still testing each other. Caldo also believes that Macron's second would put him a step ahead. But if both sides go all out, the match will end in an instant. Now finally Macaron hopes that he will have Mash let him enjoy all this without any worries. Mash is also okay with this and takes his fighting stance. Macaron wants to see what Mash is capable of, so he does his next magic attack using his sound. A lot of magical notes take the shape of a punch and start coming straight for Mash. Mash can also punch, so a punch is nothing scary for Mash, but when he goes for the punch, his punch just goes straight into the notes, which are not something physical. They get past the whole body of Mash while only damaging his ears. This is not just some parlor trick. It might not be anything physical, but due to it being a sound wave, it can do massive damage, while Mash, at least it seems for now, cannot do anything to stop it. This spell is not something that Mash can just punch to topple. Due to all this, Macron says that Mash is very poorly matched against him. Seeing that his current spell is doing really well, Macron sends more of them to attack Mash. Mash tries to block it, but it's all useless. Macron keeps attacking one after another as Mash starts getting pushed back more and more. Even for the audience, this match has turned really one-sided as they are feeling that there is a lot of difference in their personal magic. Mash cannot block it to him, it feels like it comes from within. For Macron, this is all a big letdown, which is very unfortunate. It seems that Mash was not his tartare after all. Then he uses his another spell, which is Sounds Surround Orchestra. Magic surrounds both Mash and Macron, after which the ground starts exploding around them. As the dust settles, many musical instruments are revealed, all of which are surrounding Mash. This is certainly not looking like something very good for Mash. Macron considers this the finale. The whole ground starts shaking as the musical instruments start playing really loudly. Wherever the waves of sound travel, destruction ensues. The whole arena sends dust flying into the air after a huge explosion takes place right where Mash was standing. His friends are getting really worried about Mash. The audience also feels like Mash didn't stand a chance against Macaron after all, because it was all just too overwhelming. Now they all are considering Macron a true genius. Caldo realizes that Macaron didn't even need to go all out to finish this match. The dust settles, but Mash is nowhere to be found, as if he had just disappeared. But then his hands suddenly pop up from the ground and grab Macron and pull him right into the ground. This is really surprising for both Macron and the audience watching. Macron finds himself buried into the ground with only his face out of it. Then Mash emerges from the underground. Maybe he did this so that sound doesn't reverberate. Finn watched it all happen. Right before being hit with the spell, Mash dug into the ground and jumped down. Sound waves oscillate. But that oscillation decreases as it meets with obstacles, so he dampened the sound by diving underground. But sound travels super fast, so if he actually managed to that, then it would be really freaky for Finn. Then Mash prepares his quadriceps magic and kicks Macron really hard right into his face. The kick was so strong that Macron gets pulled out of the ground and thrown really far. It almost seems like he took out Macron in just one blow. Even the announcer is calling Mash Bernadette a champ, while Caldo cannot believe Mushroom Head is still claiming that it is all magic. Then Mash jumps upon Macron. The audience is getting really crazy, as they did not think they'd ever see anyone getting pinned down in a magic school of all places. That Mash starts his continuous barrage of punches right onto Macron's face. It's a total beatdown. It's a fierce rush falling down onto Macron without showing any signs of stopping. All of this would do some serious damage. Even the audience are thinking that maybe this is going a bit too far, but it looks like they are forgetting how Macaron was also using continuous barrage of spells while attacking Mash, especially his ears. Only Caldo seems to be like someone who is truly understanding what Mash is doing is actually what he is supposed to be doing to have any chance of winning the match against someone as powerful as Macaron. And who are we to judge when even Macron himself is enjoying? This is exactly what he has been seeking. Then, while doing his barrage of punches, Mash suddenly feels something and quickly jumps back away from Macron. As the dust is settling, Macaron says that he will take Mash on in his serious form. Then he uses his Sounds metamorphosis, after which he gets surrounded by magic, under which his form starts changing into something very monster-like. But when the dust finally settles, his form if changed. But just from looking at him, you cannot say that he is some kind of monster, but his magic power certainly would have risen significantly. Everyone is surprised to see his new form, where he is looking more like a child. Mash notices how he now even has hair. Macron says that to have him turn into this form, Mash is really guilty. Caldo reveals that this is Margaret Macron's true form. Then we get to see another one of those crazy divine visionaries who took the side of Mash and is wondering how Mushroom Head is doing on the selection exam. He was really focused on making himself the hot stuff for now, while suddenly someone comes to tell him that there's big trouble, as there's a report that Innocent Zero is on the move again. The divine visionary Ryo asks for the security to be put on the case immediately. For now, they'll need Order and Caldo over at Easton Academy to buy them some time. Then it is also revealed that the one on the move is not some leader or anything. This time it is Innocent Zero himself. Now this is certainly bad. Back at the exam, everyone is keenly observing the events happening on the arena, where Macron has changed his form and turned into a child. Macron says that he hasn't just simply turned into a child. This is his form when he unleashes his innate magical power. Now he will show everyone what his real magical power looks like. Danny just snaps finger, and instantly the next moment he comes really close to Mash and softly blows into his ear, and this is enough to make Mash feel really weird, after which he just drops on the ground. The audience is really shocked at how Macron just teleported. Some of them are even talking about if Mash has some kind of weakness in his ears. Macron further explains that unleashing magical power also unleashes more spells that he can use. But Mash just does not want to hear his talk anymore, so he just quickly rises up and throws a punch towards Macron, but he once again snaps his finger and teleports away from where Mash was punching. Mash starts looking around, but Macron is nowhere to be found. He is really far away from where he was just a moment before. Then with another snap he comes close to Mash and kicks him. Now it is as if he has become sound itself. To Mash it seems like Macron is also a muscle-type human just like he is, but Macron denies this as he shows his teleport skill by continuously snapping his fingers and teleporting all around Mash. Caldo realizes that this is a magic that allows him to travel via sound. He is literally moving at the speed of sound. Trying to catch him without magic means Mash will have to move faster than sound. And so far, judging by the beating Mash is taking right now, I don't think he can travel faster than sound, but who knows, maybe he will surprise us all like how he always manages to do. Even after taking all that beating, Mash stands up once again. And this time when Macron comes to attack him he moves out of the way, so maybe he can travel faster than sound. Now this is something Macron never thought Mash would be able to do. But when Macron was thinking about how all of this is even possible, Mash comes right behind him. Macron is really confused, but Caldo understands that Mash is using the property of sound transfer. Sound travels faster through liquids than gases, and even faster through solids. By touching the wall, Mushroom Head felt the sound slightly faster than the attack landing. But it was his otherworldly reflexes that pulled it off. I wonder, after seeing all this, if he still thinks that Mash is not a worthy enough candidate for this exam. For Macron at least, this is no trouble because he could still just snap his fingers and teleport anywhere. But this time when he tries snapping, he finds that he cannot do that due to all that tartar sauce there. This allows Mash to quickly smash him to the ground, which is the rightful place he belongs to for thinking he has any chance of beating Mash. But still Lance feels like there is no telling who will win because Macron still has his second. After all this beating, Macron considers Mash a worthy opponent and proceeds to use his second death gong. Crazy magical effects start flying all around. A really huge bell appears. Macron says that this will incapacitate anyone who hears it, so it's like death knell. In 1 minute, it will ring out, covering an area 2 km wide. The only way to stop it is to take his wand away from him, which means Mash will have to catch him fleeing at the speed of sound within 1 minute, or he will lose. Even though Mash runs really fast, this is looking too difficult. Dot thinks that he and the whole audience watching would themselves get caught in it, as they all are within 2 kilometers. But according to Lance, it seems like it's limited to within the arena. That said, if it's against a fleeing opponent, Mash can't use the same tactics as earlier. It seems like Mash is in an absolute crisis. Then just as Macron starts teleporting away, Mash also quickly starts following him in order to catch him. Mash is trying his all, but Macron just teleports away way too fast, and now only 30 seconds are left. Time is ticking away. As just 15 seconds remain, the whole bell starts glowing. Then when just 10 seconds remain, Mash starts attacking the ground, then completely rips apart a part of the ground. He uses the ripped apart part of the ground to stop Macron from going in that direction. Now he only has 2 ways to go, one is left, other is right. Macron realizes that Mash just gambled, sensing that he can't deal with him with just reflex. But there was another layer to strategy of Mash. He just uses feint to start going after Macron once again. But Macron thinks that he has already gained enough distance that Mash could not reach him now. But pinky finger of Mash reaches his coat, and just by using it Mash pulls him back and breaks his wand before the bell could go off. The bell slowly fades away without causing any harm to anyone. Now Mash is just 1 step away from becoming a divine visionary. The fact that he did all this without using any magic is something even Macron is impressed by. And after this, Macron finally accepts defeat. Finn is so happy for Mash that he just starts crying. But just as everyone was celebrating, an intense tremor is felt. Everyone notices a crack in the sky from which some monster starts coming out. These are the same dragon we saw in the beginning of the episode. The one riding the dragon is none other than Innocent Zero himself. He uses some kind of magic with his finger and stops time itself, freezing everyone, even Mash. He has been looking for Mash Bernadette. It is very beautiful, especially because he did not think that he'd find him alive. He felt despair thinking he would never obtain him. But now he has Mash, who he claims to be his son. By incorporating Mash into himself, he will become complete, but just as he was about to do something to Mash, the headmaster Wahlberg appears, and he cannot simply hand that child over to Innocent Zero. The moment Wahlberg arrives, even Innocent Zero starts focusing on him instead of Mash for a bit. Because right now all his attention needs to be on the headmaster, as it seems like he's the only one who has the ability to stop him from completing his plan. Time itself is frozen all around. It seems like Innocent Zero has some kind of control on the time. Only Headmaster Wahlberg has been able to counter his time-stopping ability. Other than him, everyone else is stuck in place. Bait the audience, friends of Mash. Mash himself, Macaron, who is nearly as strong as a divine visionary, Caldo, or even the Sand Dude himself, who want to take out Mash, but now is himself pretty much useless against someone who is a real threat. Innocent Zero's followers are, however, out of time control. Maybe Wahlberg will be also able to do something to allow the others to also be free of this time freezing. But of course Innocent Zero would not make doing any kind of trick like that easy for Wahlberg. Then Wahlberg says that as the headmaster of Easton, he cannot overlook any further disorder, and he certainly will not let them meddle with his students, even if it kills him. Innocent Zero's followers are impressed with Wahlberg, as they see him not bat an eye at time-stopping magic. But they did expected him to show up, so they're still ready to take their credit. But just there, this guy was thinking about his credit. The Wahlberg's magic really scared him. Seeing him trembling in fear, Wahlberg laughs. Then after laughing for a bit, he scares them even more and asks them to back off, as they are nothing but insignificant speck in front of him. The terror the guy feels right now is clearly a lot, but then Innocent Zero asks Wahlberg to not bully his dear allies so much. At least the way he talks about his subordinates, it looks like he cares about them a little bit, but Wahlberg wants to know his true objective, which is to become a perfect human. Undying, beautiful, and powerful. That's all he wants. For Wahlberg, things like these are just commonplace. So he just cannot fathom why would he want to sacrifice countless lives for something which is that commonplace. Stealing magical power, tormenting, and even killing. But even after doing all these things, Innocent Zero does not think there's any problem in doing all those things. Because his family exists for his sake. Even Mash Bernadette over there. According to Innocent Zero, even he exists for his sake, which is why he considers him his. He is his son. So of course he wants to take him back to his home with him. Hearing all these things just makes Wahlberg laugh, but he does understand clearly that they are destined to be truly incompatible. And then a little bit of magic starts pouring out of his body as he says that Mash Bernadette will become the beacon of hope for this world. The magical marks also come out of his eyes as he prepares to do some seriously powerful magic. If the enemy wants to take Mash, no matter the cost, then they will have to go through Wahlberg, who is standing right now in front of them like a great wall. Innocent Zero also starts preparing himself to do some really powerful destructive magic. It has been decades since these two titans of magical powers had crossed their wands. At this time it feels like they're about to destroy a lot of things around them while fighting. Wahlberg summons Uranus while Innocent Zero summons Kronos. As the magic power flies all around the arena, a lot of monsters start coming out of the ground. Innocent Zero has no need of anyone but Mash Bernadette, so he has decided to dispose of all of the ones standing against him now. Then Wahlberg does a magic which unfreezes Mash and the others. This is good as now they can also fight back. Many of them who are unfreezed right now are very confused, but Wahlberg says that he will explain everything later. For now he just asks everyone who can move to deal with the demons, while he himself will deal with Innocent Zero. Right now he trusts them to take care of the students. Mash comes to action right away, and so does Macron. The demons are in a world of hell right now as Dot uses his Explom. Lance has the ability to control gravity, which makes the demons go back into the ground just the way they came out of it. They both realize that they are right now in a very terrible situation, but still, no matter how terrible the danger they are in, they are ready to fight against all odds. Caldo also hurries to assist Mr. Wahlberg. Now demons are not pushovers, so he uses his special sword with the fire, which keeps on burning until its target is no longer able to burn. Even the sand dude uses his magic to take out the demons to help Caldo. He realizes how each and every one of these demons has enough power to be a double liner. Then he asks Caldo to head over as backup for Mr. Wahlberg. But then more demons rise up from the ground near them. Looks like they don't want these guys to be able to help Wahlberg in any way. Dot is just not able to understand why are there so many of these demons. Lance just asks him to stop whining and not care about anything but taking them down. We see Macaron also using his sound magic to destroy the demons. Caldo and the sand dude also increase the intensity of their magic attacks against the continuously respawning enemy demons. Then we get back to where Innocent Zero and Wahlberg are confronting each other. Innocent Zero wonders if it is alright to leave it in the hands of a few students, but Wahlberg advises him to just focus on worrying about himself right now. Then they both use magic to go high up into the sky among the dark clouds. The reason they went up there is so that they won't be interrupted. However, down on the ground the demons are still creating chaos. No matter how many of them are taken down, they just keep on coming back. There's no end in sight for all the people who are fighting them. Lance is hoping that they will get support in time, but until then they will have to hold out. But then they see a really big structure on which one of the crazy enemy and follower of Innocent Zero is standing. This is the same guy they saw earlier while fighting for the coins. He's certainly going to be way more trouble than these demons. He is trying to drop a really big spiky ball on them. And then an even stronger looking demon also appears. They have pretty much someone to keep every one of them busy. But Mash, it seems like, is all alone. Macaron also notices how none are going after sweet little Mash. It seems like he's being baited. This has to be a trap. Macron expects that they might possess a surefire way to get sweet little Mash. Dot wonders how'd he figure that out. But for Macron this is just a hunch. Then Dot tells Mash that he can leave this place to them for now, as he's the only one who can pummel Innocent Zero's heavy hitter in that tower. So Mash starts heading for him. But such a big tower would certainly take too much time to climb. And while doing that he'd become an easy target for the enemy. Mash reaches the tower and looks up at the JoJo villain whom he is about to pummel. Now comes the question, how will Mash climb the tower? But Mash answers by not climbing the tower, but by destroying the tower base by base, so that the tower itself comes down. After a few kicks the JoJo villain on the top comes down with the tower. Now they are once again face to face in a confrontation. But the JoJo villain says that it's useless to topple the tower, because the magic controlling that big spike ball won't disappear unless he is defeated. Now even though the JoJo villain remembers Mash, Mash is having a really hard time recognizing him. So he says that maybe he was someone who sat next to him in the entrance ceremony maybe. Now this is quite surprising for the JoJo villain, as he never would have thought that Mash would ever forget about him. Mash understands that this is all very disrespectful. So he once again tries very hard to remember when they met before, but even after all that brain processing he still couldn't remember, so in the end, he just bows down and says that he is sorry. Dot and Lance continue to use their Explom and Gravile magic to fight against the demons while Macaron uses his sound magic with Caldo and the sand dude also in the battle. But Dot is seriously annoyed as there just seems to be no end to this. And then he notices a baby crying among the demons. Now this is very confusing. Why is there a baby? But just when Dot was thinking about all this, the baby starts showcasing some weird behavior. And by some weird magic he also turns Dot into a baby. And then the baby turns into a very big baby. and says that he's one of the criminal Canes. His name is Sitter Baby, and he can use his magic to turn his targets into infants. Infants are the materialization of the word inexperienced, and once a target becomes an infant, then all they can do is die without being able to do anything. Now Dot still wants to fight, but he is unable to speak properly. All that is coming out of his mouth is just goo goo gaga baba, like how a baby says stuff. His magic is also not working. Previously he could use Explom to destroy his enemies, but now his wand just sends out a little fizzle. He tries again and again, but no matter how many times he tries, only a fizzle comes out. So after realizing his serious situation, he just starts running away from the enemy. This is certainly very terrible. He can't unleash any magic, so it does seem like that he is seriously going to die. But there is a little bit of hope, as even if he does not like it, he has to ask Lance for help. Lance thinks that Dot is just joking around, so he asks him to look at what's happening around him. But of course we know that Dot is not joking, but Lance cannot understand any word that he is saying. Then suddenly that baby enemy also attacks Lance, but he dodges somehow with the baby Dot in his arms. After this, he also realizes that it must have been magic that turned Dot into a baby. Not that it matters much to him. But taking a look at Dot's such shameless face is certainly making Lance very irritated, and the demons are still attacking them, and now Dot cannot use any magic to help Lance out. In fact, Lance is the one who will have to protect Dot in baby form while also dealing with the demons. And this is just not all his troubles, because Dot is also acting like a baby, running after stuff which he thinks are interesting, just like a little idiot baby. It is almost as if he's on his way to fully returning to a baby. And while making sure Dot is safe, the baby villain also manages to turn Lance into a baby. Now they both have become a baby, and even though they cannot understand each other, their argument keeps on intensifying. Not even the demons are proving to be real threats to them. Now they both are running around the arena looking for interesting stuff, just like idiot little babies, while barely managing to dodge the demons attacking them. Poor baby Dot's body is unknowingly reacting to the toy. Lance is also having the same trouble, so he still has ways to go if he can't control himself. Then the baby villain comes in front of them and says that the moment they turned into those forms, their defeat was assured, as now they can't even use a tenth of their usual magical power. The baby villain likes to have a lot of fun in a one-sided bullying of powerless creatures, where he has no worry of getting injured himself. Truly one-sided, and then he sends the demons to attack. Dot is really scared right now. But then suddenly Lance uses his little bit of sectional gravile magic. So I guess Lance is enough of a badass that even turning him into an infant will not make it easy to defeat him. This is the top of their class, the Genius Lance crown. Indeed, even Lance thinks that it was one-sided for the scum. Caldo also notices how Lance showed his amazing skills. This is exactly what he expects from the Easton. Then the magic breaks and Lance is no longer a babu boo boo gaga saying baby. But they still have enemies, so they just cannot let their guard down. Dot knows that, and now he is also not a baby anymore. Then we see Ryo traveling in sky, explaining the kind of relationship Mr. Wahlberg and Innocent Zero have. This magic realm was shaped by one great magic user. He became the foundation of divine visionaries. Literally an individual with power matching that of God. His name was Adam. In life, there was none who could stand up to his dark magic. Mr. Guinan Wahlberg and Innocent Zero were Adam's best students, so their powers are basically equal. But they made an effort to invade them, so he is sure they must have some chance of success. If Mr. Wahlberg were to lose for any reason, then things would get really horrible for the world. Then back at the part of the sky where Mr. Wahlberg and Innocent Zero are flying, they are talking about how this is their first meeting in a while. Innocent Zero is really happy about this. But then Innocent Zero reveals his face, which is really horrible for even Mr. Wahlberg to look at. Innocent Zero also notices how Wahlberg is looking at his old friend like he is some kind of monster. Then his face changes a little bit and starts looking more like a human. But even then he certainly has abandoned his humanity. But still he considers himself to be human enough, which is why his desires are too deep. There's no limit to his greed, And right now he has two desires. One is to take home his son Mash Bernadette, and the other one is to make sure that Wahlberg is dead. Then he summons some kind of a timer with his magic. This is a forbidden spell which even scares Wahlberg a little bit. Back at the down tower, JoJo villain is angry that Mash forgot who he is. So he attacks a little bit with his magic in hopes that it will rejuvenate his memory. Then he also tells about what he did to his cockroach-like persistent friends when they previously met. He also says that after killing him he will go and do the same to his friends with his own hands. Once again JoJo villain attacks with his carbon stones, which are really strong. What Mash does not care about them, he just runs on them. He continues to run and close his distance, which annoys the JoJo villain quite a lot. And then when Mash has come close enough, he punches him really hard. In fact, now Mash has also remembered that this is that same black thorny guy. But Mash certainly expects him to do something new, because this is just an old trick which won't work again and again.